Class is in session. Welcome to the Useless Knowledge Academy podcast. I'm Max.
And I'm Tage.
And today we're just going to talk to you all about what our podcast is. We decided over COVID to start this podcast out of boredom, and it's already like February. Now we're starting.
Yeah, like the start of quarantine, and we finally got around to doing it.
We're like, not procrastinating at all.
Yeah, I'd say we've been very productive so far.
So this is going to be a read-along podcast. We're basically going to either do reading books, chapter by chapter per episode, maybe even review some movies or TV series. We're not exactly sure. What are we going to start with, Tage?
We're just making stuff up as we go, really. To start off, we have that much at least. We're going to start off with the Percy Jackson series, and then we'll continue on with the second series, Heroes of Olympus. But we plan on just doing it chapter by chapter, first episode, chapter 1, and so on. We're just going to give our analysis, give our thoughts, and just try to be entertaining, probably, and fail.
Hopefully you guys find us entertaining. And I say you guys, that's if we have listeners.
Yeah, that's if we have more than 2 people watching.
Oh, I read this thing the other day where there's this guy who was got super depressed or something. He was running for mayor in some small African town, and he got 7 votes or something like that, 6-7 votes, and the other guy just totally destroyed him, and he started crying because he had 10 people in his family, so not even all of his family. I feel like it's gonna be us.
He must have had really bad policies.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So, Tage, do you want to, go into what about your nerdy interests or how you got into all things useless knowledge?
Yeah. So, from a young age, I liked reading fantasy books. I liked Harry Potter, that kind of stuff. And I just really liked, losing myself into another world that was more interesting than real life. But, and video games are another thing that I really enjoy. Just anything that's, fantasy, anything that's interesting. And I don't take it to the extent of some people. I don't like comic books. Only nerds like that. You have to be some kind of special kind of stupid to like those. I'm sorry, I'm kidding. If you like comic books, please don't leave.
He's making fun of me.
Yeah, I'm making fun of this guy. I'm not making fun of you. But it's always been nice to just go into another world and kind of lose yourself for a bit.
It is. I think everybody, to some extent, has some sort of distraction or getaway from the real world. And I think that's something that's important to have, because life can suck sometimes. So for me, I started getting into fantasy. I got into after I was 11, I think, and I watched Lord of the Rings for the first time, and I was just totally in awe of it. And I had always grown up watching, and this is reading fantasy, because with my family, I just grown up watching, Harry Potter, all those Star Wars, all these movies. So it was kind of I got it vicariously from my family, that interest. But reading fantasy, I saw Lord of the Rings, and it was so epic in scale that I just had to read the books. And then I started reading Harry Potter. And recently, it was only last year, I read Percy Jackson.
I'm sorry, did you say you read Lord of the Rings at 11?
I think The Hobbit first, and then Lord of the Rings is a year or 2 later.
I struggled with the names and shit when I was 16. How did you do that at 11?
Oh, well, the movies is, I mean, I'm way more into the movies. And I say I've read it at 11, but I don't remember. I remember that I read it at 11. I don't remember much of the book.
Yeah, you kind of read it, but didn't really comprehend it.
Yeah, I was like, just so I could say I read the book because I'm a Lord of the Rings fan. So I over like summer road trips and stuff like that, I got the books and reread them then. Yeah, so that's kind of. Oh, I'm also into comic books. I'm much more than Tage into like, yeah, Marvel, DC, all that stuff.
Who's your favorite superhero, Max?
Hopefully you guys know him. He's Nightwing. He's the most epic of superheroes. He used to be Robin, but then he got cooler. Oh. Do you have a favorite superhero, Tage?
I like the guy that like flies and
Plastic Man. No, okay.
Strong. No, Plastic Man is lame, bro. I don't know. I don't like superheroes.
Yeah, that's true.
My favorite superhero is myself.
That's your favorite. So, Tage, what did you get into Percy Jackson specifically?
I don't even really remember. I think I got the books as like a Christmas present when I was like 12 or 13. And I read them and I was like, this is actually really interesting. Because I was never into Greek mythology or anything like that before. But once I read it and it kind of gave personality to like the gods and mythology and all that kind of stuff, I really found myself enjoying it. And just like, obviously, I was the target market for that book. I was like a 12 to 13-year-old kid. But it was really something that I just, once I read it, I really got into it. Because it's one of those things, you hear a lot about some stuff. Like, you hear a lot about, I don't know, a basketball team or whatever. And you hear about it all the time. And you kind of subconsciously develop this thing where you're like, oh, whatever, I don't care about them. And you never really want to actually learn about them. But I find oftentimes when I hear a lot about something and I finally like bite the bullet and engage myself in it, it's actually usually well worth it. It's usually really a really nice read or really nice watch or anything like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. So you kind of read it around like the specific demographic because Percy is 12 in the first book, and that's around when you read it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was 18 when I read it. Yeah. That's how much of a nerd No, I'm kidding. You can read YA.
Man.
You can read young adult books. It's not weird.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, we're going to reread all this stuff. So.
Yeah. I mean, I read the Star Wars books when I was like 16.
Oh, my brother, oh my gosh, he was like so into Star Wars at one point that he could like give you every race, and he had all the books, and oh my gosh, like his depth of knowledge in Star Wars. This is pre the sequel or the sequel trilogy with like Rey and all of them.
Oh yeah, me too. I hate this sequels. Ugh.
Dude, I was hopeful with the first movie, like with episode 7. I was like, oh yeah, like it's kind of classic.
Mm-hmm.
If they just continue on the right path, it could get better. So like there's a lot of cliffhangers here, and then Rian Johnson happened.
Honestly, I just don't really like the plot that much. I don't care about the world or First Order, whatever it is. I don't care about Rey. I don't care about Finnegan. It's just kind of like lackluster to me.
I mean, the first part of that movie was like episode 7. That is was so it felt rushed. Like Finn and Poe meet like within 5 seconds, and all of a sudden they're like BFFs.
I will say I really like the concept of an ex-stormtrooper and like following them, but that's almost
it had a lot of good ideas. Like it had a lot of things going for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. It's just so disappointing. Anyway, we'll get to Star Wars eventually.
I'm sorry, I should clarify. He technically wasn't a stormtrooper. He was a First Order trooper, whatever they're called. I don't even know
There,
what they're called.
I think they're still stormtroopers.
Oh, okay.
I don't care enough about the series to
Yeah, I don't either.
Well, oh my gosh, we could talk about how much I hate those movies for a long time.
Yeah, we can have like a single episode just shitting on them.
We're gonna set aside an hour sometime in the future with a bunch of notes on like, this is why it's so dumb.
Oh,
so Tay, did you ever see the Percy Jackson movie?
I did get around to it, and it was 2-3 years ago or something like that.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah,
I remember very, very little from it. I remember next to nothing. I remember the extent of my memory is that I remember the actors looked much older than the actual characters in the book were.
Well, they were older. They were like in
Yeah.
high school.
Yeah. And I remember Chronos, well, I can't really spoil it, but like I remember they did the plot very differently and such.
Mhm.
So what did you think of the movie, Max, if you saw the movies?
Well, I saw it when it came out. So
Right.
another one of my brothers, he was like super into the Percy Jackson books before the movie came out because he's older than me. And
This guy has a lot of
I-
brothers, by the way.
I have 3 brothers. That's all my siblings. I don't have any sisters. So basically, I saw Percy, like the first time I ever heard about Percy Jackson was when I went to see the movie for the first time when it came out. And I thought it was great. I thought it was a great movie. Me being probably like 12 actually around the time, something like that. And it took me like a while to get around to it. But it was because of the movie I got into the books. I'll say that. It's not a good adaptation at all, but I thought it was like a good action movie.
Yeah, as an action movie, it was fine.
Yeah, but now that I've like read the books and rewatched it, I'm like,
Mhm.
oh, you had so much potential.
I mean, that's pretty much every film adaptation ever except for Lord of the Rings. Like, those are the only movies I know of that people say it was a really good adaptation.
And the reason why Lord of the Rings is a good adaptation is because it realizes that it's a movie, and that if you were to take the book, like page by page of Lord of the Rings, and like slap it on into a movie, it wouldn't work, you know?
Yeah.
And then like the movies like Percy Jackson just try and change the mythology of the book, and it's just so dumb.
Yeah. Like, you can keep the same plot while cutting out the unimportant parts like description and stuff. But when you start to change the fundamentals of the story, that's when people start to have gripes with it.
Yeah. I think, and this is my humble opinion, but Hollywood should just, fan service. That should be your goal. I mean, fans, like, they'll come back if you do stuff like that.
That's true.
That's why the Marvel movies did so well, because Marvel was just, like, fan service.
I mean, yeah, the past few Avengers movies have just been completely fan service.
I know.
What if
that was
all
my
your-
chef kiss.
What if all of your favorite superheroes got together and they fought a bad guy?
I mean, it's like that's like every like superhero team movie ever. But if you think about it, that's never happened before in a movie. So it's like, and it was really well done.
Yeah, I'm not knocking it. I think it was a good series, but it is
No,
kind of
yeah,
funny
no.
just how blatant
It's simple,
it is.
but
Yeah.
sometimes simple like is good.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and I think another reason why movies like that did well is because everything's political nowadays, and like they were able to make it non-political, and like that's why you go to the movies, is to get away from the real world.
Yeah, there's definitely a time and a place for it, and obviously superhero movies usually aren't a place where people want to be reminded of real world issues.
Yeah, I agree.
To an extent, because I can see like the villain has motives, like obviously there's going to be a moral dilemma. Especially if it's a well-written villain that you can sympathize with, you could interpret that as like political. That's
maybe controversial issues then.
Yeah, that's why Thanos' portrayal is really good, because like it's almost understandable. It's still unhinged, but you can almost understand it, and it's not an actual political issue. Like, no one's arguing that half the planet should die. So you've still got like an engaging motive that isn't gonna piss everyone off.
Yeah, I think the reason why Thanos, like you said, is such a great character is because he's not like, I'm evil for the sake of evil. I woke up this morning, how can I do evil today? You know, like, he's like, I'm trying to do good, actually.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. So I guess we should wrap things up. That was really bad.
So guys, we will now be ending the podcast episode.
Yes, I take acting courses and shit like that.
Yeah, but we're just gonna smoothly transition into our ending here.
We're gonna edit this. Like,
we are?
It'll be better. I will edit this.
I thought it was a great outro, personally.
Oh, yeah. So next episode, Percy Jackson. Do your homework, read up, kids.
Yeah,
and we'll have a grand old time.
Yeah.
Hopefully not having to re-record the episode afterwards.
What kind of buffoon would have to record their first episode? Do you think they'd have everything planned perfectly?
We did, except I forgot to press a button.
By the way, do you know? Are you sure that you're using the right mic right now?
Oh, I'm 100% sure.
Okay.
That would be so bad. All right, quick story. We recorded our first episode on Chapter 1 before
really
this. It was great. And I used the wrong microphone, and there was a really, really weird, like, sharp, piercing noise through all of my audio.
Yeah, so let's hope this one goes a bit better.
Hopefully, yeah. And hopefully people actually enjoy this.
Yeah, you better enjoy it. Bro, we put so much effort in. Bro, it's almost been 20 minutes of us going out of our way to be entertaining and great people.
So if you don't like this, like, so off the cuff podcast.
Yeah, we don't do that great about following scripts.
Oh, I put notes and I'm like, if I get to it, I get to it.
Yeah, I mean, we do cover the topics. We kind of go in a roundabout way of doing it. Like
they say in Pirates of the Caribbean, they're mostly guidelines.
Yeah, essentially. You know.
All right.
I haven't watched that series like since I was like 6, and I don't remember any of it.
Well, then we'll have to review it. All right.
Pirates and shit. Okay.
Do your homework. Till next time, class.
Stay educated.
And yeah, I like that. Yeah, we'll work on the outro. Stay educated. I like it. All right, bye.
Good day or night.